actual schematic path. At Derby, our beautiful boy snapped it out of it. Emotional support Derby is my name,
How long? Our companion.
Alright, my brother, listen closely. Tonight we made the Trojans beg.
What if every purchase was an investment in your business? With a Capital One business card, you'll earn unlimited.
Think of the wives and your children. Your families wonder where you've been. Hello, I'm gonna tell you.
You know, aside from the absolutely criminal price of this game, there's two things that are already suspicious. Amidst the glowing reviews of this game, one of them seems incredibly out of place. It spoke to me. Unknown. You know, also, I've played some games in my time, but never any that came with a severe warning like that. Definitely not worth $59.99. Jokes aside, this game, brought to you by Arcadia Entertainment, will be really important to remember. Before we get to that, a sudden cut takes us to a heavily distorted broadcast, and we can barely decipher the scrolling text at the bottom. There's been tunnels found underneath the wall. It's not clear which side they're coming from, but it's good to know the wall isn't doing its intended job. We knew that would be an eventuality anyways, but I don't know if I would have seen it to this extent. Either that, or someone is trying to tunnel into the exclusion zone. And for what reason, I can't even fathom to guess. This ends on another familiar note, a precursor episode to Mythical Creatures from Midnight Safety Guide, a topic about Night Stalkers, but before we can get a visage of these probably just as horrifying creatures, this is also cut short. A curfew, or what does seem more like a mandatory lockdown, is now in effect. From sunset to sunrise, we're told that either defend yourself or pray that you survive the night. There is no hope. We were promised an Eden by Adam Labs, but if we were promised heaven, then why now? Are we in hell? so before we keep getting any further into the tragedy and horror that is Arcadia, I just wanted to tell you guys thank you very, very, very much for all the love and support that you guys give me. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, and it's really nice to see that we get to share this journey together. It's been a dream of mine to want to do something like this, and it feels like I'm finally on the right track to do it. Also, if you made it this far in the video,
Fun fact,
thank you for sticking around for that too. It's a little bit different than how I usually do things. I started writing a script first, and then just decided I kind of wanted to wing it,
I'm
do a little
planning
bit
on
of
starting.
footnotes. So if it sounds a little different, just
I
bear
have to
with me.
finish setting
Also,
up
if you haven't checked out
my
this
account
series,
for
please
Arcade.
do. And you'll see why it
doing
kind of
Arcade
took me a little
shit.
bit longer here in a second to finish this video. Anyways, love
Do
y'all.
what I can, of course.
Thank you. Back to the story. Yeah, speaking of a certain type of hell, this entry, The Farm, is by far the most extensive episode in the series, clocking it at almost 30 minutes. It's like almost a quarter of the runtime of the entire series. But anyways, The Farm covers literally everything about Arcadia, the timeline, you name it. Bear in mind though, we're about to discover truths about what is happening here. Who knows what may enter. In The Farm, we open up with a voice log from none other than, you guessed it, Ian Parker, dating back to 1980.
I'm afraid. Have we made a mistake? I've gone over the scenario in my head, over and over. What if the signal goes beyond what we know? Far beyond our estimations. Continually traveling. The endless abyss. Forever. We knew about the possibility of it happening. We took the necessary precautions. But still, it is a non-zero chance. It would be inviting things that could bend our reality. Things beyond our comprehension. A single reply. There's only been only one mode answered. The others. Silence. They are hiding. They are afraid of what lies at the edge of the abyss. My God. What have we done?
Wait, I thought Venmo was for paying people.
Yeah, and for everything else.
Everything.
Everything.
Here they come, yo. Here they come.
My God. What have we done?
This voice recording seems to have taken place mere moments after the first signal was sent out, and to be honest, Parker's reservations are one of the more logical revelations in this series. But the more frightening reflection isn't the theory he's mentioning, it's his realization that the signal may still be going. During the interruption in the signal, the shockwave reveals 47 immediately visible worlds. At least ones that we can see. His idea is that the signal is in fact perpetual. And that makes me kind of wonder what else lies beyond the void. And worse, now it knows we're here. Immediately after this, we go to a warning card indicating a severe cognito hazard. Also, right after that, we're given yet another title intro card, one that bears a striking resemblance to an Atom Labs production. This instructional tape appears to be for a selectee of some new revolutionary tech that will allow researchers to see both what our own eyes see and our hallucinations. You know, by inserting a device into your skull. Through this, they can assess the images you receive. Don't worry though, if that kind of dissuades you from it, they were kind enough to give you very specific safety measures to ensure an error-free process. Isolate yourself. Make sure that no one around you is affected by what's about to happen. Turn off the lights. You absolutely want to make sure that that thing you see out of the corner of your eyes in the dark is real. Wear headphones. Your ears will betray you. Control your fear. Yeah, you know what? I'm good. Also, miss me with that thank you for your service shit. I did my 5 years. The company that they mentioned, though, has to be Atom Labs. So there's more fuel to the theory right now that the government knows more than they're letting on. And more specifically, what I think Atom Labs allows them to be involved in. If you're wondering how this technology works, you won't have to wait much longer. The rest of this video is actual footage from a test subject, 294B, making first contact with an entity embedded in a video game. Yes, that video game. The farm. This also does give a bit more elaboration on what Adam's lab meant by "you are the messenger," as subject 294B is tasked with asking pre-selected sets of questions to said entity. It begs the question if this version of the game was born of a fissure, as its anomalous properties certainly bear all the similarities of something that came from the backwards beyond. Reminiscent of text-based games of that era, nothing seems anomalous quite yet. Oh, yeah, there you go. There it is. Throughout the test, images are sprinkled in of what appear to be the test subject, reenacting actual events happening in the game. Either these are hallucinations, or Subject 294B is living this ethereal nightmare firsthand. I mean, hell, there's even a documented recollection of how for 17 minutes, Subject 294B attempted the same action repeatedly without breaking, claiming that they were right in front of those barn doors and felt that they absolutely needed to open them as if their life depended on it. The captions at the bottom of these segments also seem like the entity itself is talking to the subject, that they knew they were coming, that this was all according to plan. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Whatever caused this to manifest was strong enough to both brick the computer and send Subject 294B into a severe seizure. Even after stabilization, Subject 294B, in a panicked, frantic state, refuses to go back in. However, you'd be surprised. Miracles can happen with just a little persuasion. Finish the test, or we keep you here forever. Reluctantly, the test continues. Once entering back into the game, the message repeats, now guiding him to a cornfield and being instructed to turn off the light. Yeah, this is gonna end really well, I can already tell. Deep within the cornfield comes the voice, an invitation from beyond the unknown void, braced with nothing but fear. It's now time to ask the questions. Where did you come from? Are there more of you?
More rewards, more savings, more special offers. That's what new Fuel Rewards members get at Shell. Join to save 10 cents per gallon on your first fill, 20 cents per gallon on the second, and 30 cents per gallon on the third. Join today.
This shot right here is very interesting. It's a man in a hazmat suit pointing at a light, at what I'm assuming to be a fissure, and it looks almost identical to the light we saw in the Great North Alaskan disaster, the one that's right behind the moon. I have some theories, but I'll
Astroworld
be
is
saving
still
that for
being
later.
criticized
What
to
is your
this
purpose
day.
here?
You know, I've noticed. Astroworld's still being criticized to this day because of how Travis handled it. So many other bands, you know, I think he kind of knew what was going on and was trying to stay calm for the other fans. But he should have stopped the show.
Well, they're clearly already here. Subject 294B begins to scream uncontrollably. Attempts are made to pull 294B from the game, but with no luck. What follows is, in all honesty, batshit crazy. 294B, from an outside perspective, is merely playing this game fabricated by the entity. Should he win, he wins the right to ask the final question. Should he lose, it's hard to say what happens. The worst part of this is, we don't get to see this nightmare unfold before their very eyes. Everything feeling as if they were right there, defending himself against hordes of unspeakable terrors, their very sanity crumbling so much that they can't even remember their own name. As the battle unfolds, what appears to be that same entity reveals itself. An immeasurably large red skull with sunken, glowing eyes that rends the farm itself in half. The horror here is staggering.
Travis doesn't have
But
the body count.
294B's resolve somehow
Legally,
pleases this
Travis
entity
doesn't have
at the
the body
last moment.
count. It's the people that
Before all
actually
hope is lost,
did this shit
a
about
brief
Astroworld.
respite is given. At some point, Adam Labs was
Morally,
able to get
yeah,
a
he
hold of
does
its
have
assumed-to-be lost worker, Ian Parker, and I'm guessing he was in Valley Research. After all, he did survive the first contact. This could also explain the entity's odd comments about being tainted by the Abyss, but we'll save that for later too. After this brief dialogue, the entity allows us to ask the final question. What are you? We may already know the answer.
Morally, though, morally, he's in the wrong.
A brief pause from the absolute madness that's happening in Arcadia takes us back to a familiar, somewhat welcome sight, Arcadia TV. Also, what appears to be the latest entry in Midnight Safety Guide is playing. We're also given a look at another player in this story, the Anomalous Awareness Association, which, for the sake of brevity, I will start calling from now on. Just kidding, call it AAA. Seems this might be an organization responsible for creating Midnight Safety Guide, and for what it's worth, potentially a rival faction to Adam Labs. There's a reason for this. One thing that stands out immediately to me right now regarding this is while Adam Labs is, actively engaging in interactions with these extra-dimensional nightmares, most of the episodes of Midnight Safety Guide deal with countermeasures, more specifically Tape 2, where we're explicitly told, do not communicate with them. There's also that insert from exclusion zone safety, but I'm also beginning to wonder if this was in fact intentionally placed and or hacked into. Now, majority of the rest of the footage in this episode has two separate pieces of footage, so to save time and organize it a little bit better, I'll give each a brief rundown. One section of footage shows a home recording of a resident calling the AAA, addressing an issue regarding someone, or more accurately, something. Even the AAA hotline tells him to leave. The house is no longer his, because they can't even identify what it is. While thinking the odds are forever in his favor to stand and fight, he waits it out, armed with a shotgun. Take a guess how that plays out. Honestly, this series is on par with Vita Carnis and Greylock for its creative designs. I love it. The other section, well, I feel like I need to play it for full effect.
I don't think the concert community has ever fully healed from what the fuck happened at Astro World.
They are fine. Waiting. Cannot resist. Let this end. They cannot be stopped.
It eventually will. Eventually, everything will heal from Astro World. It's just the damage Astro World has done will still be there. It's just eventually concepts will heal. So fair and like mention it, eventually you'll start healing too.
I have so many questions about this. Who was talking?
That'll always.
Part of it seems like the perspective of someone from our own world, but the other segments feel as if this is coming from something that knows what the grim future holds. We then turn finally to this nightmare fuel-inducing paid programming, type of puppet show. If you notice in the background, there's yet more similar imagery. The moon and something else behind the moon. Addressing notes and letters from the public and the audience watching, Puppet asks the first question. Do they believe in God? Suddenly, a knock at the door. Come on in. The door is unlocked. Now, This was supposed to be the last video in the series. It turns out Chilling Abyss, as I was making this video, blessed us with yet another entry in the series. The newer one is kind of short, but it packs a hell of a punch. With that in mind, I'll be combining the last two. The year in this entry is 1993, and it's beyond clear now that things have gone from worse to completely unmanageable. We get to learn more about the AAA, and I believe my suspicions were confirmed that they are also actively hunting these anomalies, possibly trying to expose Atom Labs. Fun fact, the usage of the word contiguous in this video is referencing the lower 48 states. Safe to say there probably isn't much of an exclusion zone anymore. We cut to someone trying to access none other than Ian Parker's employee files, and while most of these seem to be corrupted, there are 3 available, 2 of which mark important events in this story. Interlaced with some camcorder footage, we begin to hear a transcript between Ian Parker and a woman named Elizabeth Woods, who we come to find out is the head psychologist at Atom Labs. Let's take a listen.
Customizes your car insurance.
Are you a caddy?
No, I'm a duck. That's a limo.
Okay, I'm gonna putt now.
Okay, I'm gonna watch you putt.
Oh!
Nice birdie. Yes, he's a very nice birdie. Oh no, limo! The cards! Only pay for what you need.
Yeah, yeah. Third acts have gotten more unhinged as of recent years. Hello.
There's also these strange Polaroids that are seated between depicting what I can only assume to be trophies taken by a serial killer. This could be the person that's targeting the homeless population, or the thing that's targeting the homeless population that the AAA is sought after. It's more than likely that whoever's filming these shots as well is also behind taking the Polaroids. Speaking of, we learn that this investigation takes us to a home littered with hundreds of the same photographs, even one with an eerily familiar shot. Each of these photos has a single word or symbol written on the back. We're brought to another transcript, one of Elizabeth Woods trying to access or request access to the corrupted files regarding Ian Parker. Important to note, the date on this requisition is October 1993, putting it at the furthest point in the timeline we've reached so far. As the crackling static invades our screen once more, we begin to hear another tale from Ian Parker, which has some uncanny moments in it as well. This also apparently seems to be a victim of the supposed murder. The camera flash confirms that what we think is initially the cadaver is in fact still alive. Another piece of footage puts us again in 1993, where an inhumanly long arm reaches from the dark, reaching out to grasp this cadaver. I'm both excited and terrified to find out what exactly this thing is. The investigators come across a journal in the home, and while most of it is completely intelligible, there are some entries that paint a gruesome tale. February 3rd, she was my only friend, the only person I cared for. Why? Why did I do it? Why did I listen to it? How did it know her name? February 17th. The air is thick with the smell of decay. My eyes burn when it speaks. It tells me more strange stories. It requests for more. March 22nd. The constant feeding. The unending hunger. It only wants those it has chosen. When will it be enough? April 12th. It no longer speaks, but I can still hear its voice. The pain in my head is getting worse. My nose and my ears bleed frequently. What is happening to me? April 27th. has shown me the future. It will awaken. I must prepare. Wait, hold on, wait, what will awaken? I mean, never mind the eventual cannibalistic evolution, but what exactly is going to awaken? What else that is worse than anything else that's happened so far possibly come through the void now? The next part, it looks like Elizabeth got her response finally, and she's been denied any access to the files regarding Site Bravo. There's a lot to unpack there, but I think it's best we move forward. We still have a lot to look into. Ian's story to Elizabeth continues further. After confiding in his father about what he had seen, his father reassures him. Could have just been nothing. You were seeing things. That would have been the end of it, if his father hadn't seen the same thing too. Chalking it up to someone's lost, sick dog, he puts it out of its misery. But the strangest part is Ian's father makes him swear to never talk about this again. That's not suspicious at all. What's even more is the closing statements to Elizabeth's psyche valve of Ian.
Alright. Good night. For like another 30 minutes.
That statement right there, fear of dogs, is a damning statement, and something definitely makes sense now. Head of safety and ethics, I can see why she was reluctant. However, there's a reason that also makes sense. The final part of this video is critical to the story, and in a blink and you'll miss it moment,
Dunkin' Refresher. Get a $3 medium for Dunkin' Rewards members.
On Chewy, save 35% and shop all your favorite brands. For any taste or any diet.
makes sense. The final part of this video is critical to the story, and in a blink and you'll miss it moment, we learn that, well, they were right. Our deepest fears are confirmed. But there's a lot in this segment in general that I feel would be better to go over in theories. I know I didn't cover it immediately in this section, but I'll go back and say right now that that newspaper clipping also means a lot to this story. It seems that John Walker's family was killed in a car accident in 1983, and there's also some very strange things to note in that incident. Also, Ian Parker's confidential deposition between himself and Elizabeth Wood takes place in 1978. But the story Ian Parker tells seems like it happened way before that. If he saw one of these false dogs then, something doesn't add up here at all. This would have taken place before potentially even Atom Labs was a thought. There's more to this, but I'm, like I said, going to save this for the very end because it'll make more sense once the timeline is revealed and we start getting into our theories. The newest, and by new I mean straight fresh out the oven new entry, just so happens to also be the latest in the timeline. It also gives us a glimpse of just how far up shit creek we are. More specifically, the government and Atom Labs. Taking place in 1994, while an emergency press release is about to take place, we learn that a leak has exposed the two, Atom Labs and the government, also giving us insight on how far influence has spread. What hasn't spread, however, is the trust in the government. Big surprise. Amidst the random clips, one that I found incredibly interesting was the homeless exodus taking place. Now, in the last tape, Monsters, it was the homeless being the target of this serial killer who was feeding that abomination at their residence. Now, it seems the homeless are being relocated with blood tests on the menu. Once again, something isn't adding up here. I'm willing to bet that these aren't homeless people. They're more like unwelcome guests. Aside from the various symbols we become so accustomed to seeing, we also see that, to no one's surprise, the White House is completely full of shit. And no, nothing is fine. Various other bits of info are fed to us via channel surfing, from law firms capitalizing on these anomalies, the AAA giving more safety tips, the exclusion zone becoming much, much larger, and even a mission to the moon. And yes, even an announcement regarding the season finale to Arcadia's crown jewel, Tony's World, which, in all seriousness, is most likely the puppet show we've seen in paid programming. And just like that, this is the world of Arcadia so far. A world where, well, nothing is fine. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, this series really kicked my ass as far as analysis went. This was one of the most expansive and detailed series I've ever had the privilege of covering. Part of this challenge and the beauty of this series is that there's a lot of time jumps. So, in order to make these theories work, we're gonna try and set a time frame right now. As it stands, one of the first incidents that take place in this series with Ian Parker's childhood memory of the encounter with a strange false dog in the woods. We come to 1978, where Ian Parker confides this story to the head psychiatrist of Atom Labs, Elizabeth Woods. We also find out through this that Ian Parker has a bit of an affinity for John Walker and has been reading his books, so it's without question that he was influenced by John Walker's work that he wanted to work for Atom Labs. This could also be his means of finding answers to what he might have seen in the woods that one fateful evening. We move forward a little bit to 1980, where finally we understand what Atom Labs is working on. Dr. John Walker has created a device that will allow us to be able to contact similar worlds. Now, way back when I covered the signal, I put emphasis on similar. This device was not meant to reach other worlds. It was only meant to discover worlds nearly identical to ours. Whether there was a flaw in this design or it was just meant to happen, we discovered other worlds. Worlds not meant to be discovered. On February 3rd, 1980, the first signal is sent out. With that, we've successfully contacted a world similar to ours. The intentions of this world I'm not so sure of, but we'll get to that once again in the theories. Even after communication takes place at a pace that probably should have been a little less rushed, we run the 3-image test. On the topic of the 3-image test, I think that it was Ian Parker's idea to implement this, and this might have been one of the first of many straws that broke the camel's back and strained John Walker and Ian Parker's relationship. Ian had an unhealthily obsessive fear of dogs, and it makes sense once we've heard the story that he told Elizabeth Woods.
Here they come, yo. Here they come.
You can film a fish, or you can film a man. You can film a fish, or you can film a man. You can film a fish, or you can film a man. You can film a fish, or you can film a man. You can film a fish, because this is where it's at.
Elizabeth Woods. It could even be the fact that Ian Parker created the 3-image test after sharing his reservations in that voice log. Being the head of safety and ethics, he would have a hand in that some way, somehow. He created the test just to make sure. I also find it more horrifying in this idea that the 3-image test was never a thing until he might have shared his reservations, which means they were just about to go gung-ho into the unknown. Whether through calculated caution or perhaps ulterior motives, John Walker goes to the board of Atom Laboratories and has Ian Parker removed from his position at head of health and safety in Atom Labs. Feeling nothing short of anger and betrayal, Ian can now only watch helplessly from afar as they continue constructing the bridge between World 1 and our world. Fast forward a couple months, and now we've found yet another universe that has heard our signal. However, this world is tainted, poisoned, corrupted by something that we won't discover until much later. After completely bombing the 3-image test, communication is cut from that world immediately. It's around this time that, while the bridge is being constructed between our world and our mirror world, the first world that we found, John Walker's family suffers a tragic fate. It's worth noting too in that newspaper clipping that also it seems that an object or an animal ran into the road, causing the accident. A dog, maybe. December 23rd, 1983 brings us to
the day or
critical
night,
point in
whatever
this
time zone
story.
it is for you.
The Great North Alaska